Good morning and welcome to all. Here our today's new participants. Purnarasu Subramaniam ji is also welcome here. First of all, just I want to humble request. Please introduce yourself. Purnarasu Subramaniam ji. Subramanian ji. Please introduce yourself because
Hello,
our
sir.
host.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah.
I'll on the camera. So I'm Ponarsu Subramanian. I'm archive project leader at Archive of IIT Madras. We are establishing an archive for IIT Madras. It's a 62-year-old institution. So the idea is to safeguard all the physical records, all those years collected on the various units of IIT Madras. We have started in 2019, and then we have in middle of 2019. The idea is to establish the archive in summer 2022. So we are in the survey process of how much material do we have, and also we are started the building construction. So we are at that stage, and then yeah.
So nice.
I'm very happy to join the course and to refresh memories and learn new things from the class. So that's the idea.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Recently, we also make a MOU with IIT Mumbai
Okay, sir.
and with some other institutions, some universities for the archives and museums work, like the Western University also. So most welcome, and we'll start our today's session
Yeah,
here.
through the archive, we will also strengthen our relationship with both the institutions. I'll talk to the chair of the archive project. Still, we are in the project mode. Only when we establish the archive, it will become a permanent unit of IIT.
Yes, most welcome. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
I'll mute the mic and the
Yes,
camera.
yes, yes, please. So, as we last in our last session, we discussed about the history and development of the museums. In this session, we will discuss about the history and development of the archives. So, as you can see in front of you, there are the various materials or the mediums which used for the writing in ancient period, in medieval period, and in modern period like that. So these clay tablets, then the stone inscriptions, then the copper plate inscriptions, or the paper documents like that. So when we study about the history of archives, we can see here the practice of keeping official documents, which is a very old system. Archaeologists have discovered archives of hundreds of clay tablets or sometimes thousands because at one place they found 30,000 clay tablets. So it's going back to the third and second millennium BC sites like Ebela, Mari, Amara, Hattusa, Great, and Palace. It's the places which are in Syria or we can say in the Egyptian or like that. These discoveries have been fundamental to know ancient alphabets, languages, literatures, and politics. So this Ernst Posner has argued that the first archives were created by the Sumerians in the middle. Why Sumerians? Because there are few discoveries by archaeologists. We will see about that. These records took up the form of clay tablets with cuneiform characters. The archives were used to support commercial activity and property ownership. Please see here why these archives are needful at that time. Because here this line we need to indicate archives were used to support commercial activity and property ownership. But is it so only? We need to discuss about this also. Later ancient societies such as the Hittites, Assyrians, and Mesopotamians all kept archives, although one can only speculate today on just how institutionalized these archives were and what form, if any, such institutions took. In at least some of these societies, archives were kept in temples and courts for religious, legal, administrative, commercial, and genealogical purposes. Here we can see one of the excavations from Ibela, the parts of these excavations, and the findings of that excavations. We can see here this type of the clay tablets. This is the Babylonian Plimpton 322 clay tablet with numbers written in cuneiform script and believed to have been written about 1800 BC. This table lists 2 or 3 numbers in what are now called Pythagorean triples, like that. Here an artifact from the site of Hattusa is presented at Hattusa Museum. And this is the Royal Library of Ashurbanipal, named after Ashurbanipal, the great king of the Ashurian Empire. Is a collection of more than 30,000 clay tablets and fragments containing texts of all kinds from the 7th century BC, including texts in various languages. So you can see here these tablets, and here this is a structure of a library, like that, because as we keep the books in our library in the cupboards, like that, here are such type of the cupboards they used at that time, and here these clay tablets are there. So which is the period 7th century, 8th century BC. So it means that at the same time, Mahajanpada period in India, and at that time, such type of the libraries we can see here. But up to now, there is no any such type of the libraries information we got the early this Mahajanapada period or in the Indus civilization too. There are too many such type of the we can see other symbols for the wisdom. ज्ञान की जो परंपरा है, हमारे पास जो नॉलेज सिस्टम्स थी, उसके बारे में जानकारी हमें मिलती है. We can easily get the information, or we can get easily the idea about their knowledge systems, because there are such type of those things, those which are their clear parameters. In जैसे इंडस सिविलाइजेशन में कुछ चीजें प्राप्त हुई, उनके सेम मेजरमेंट्स है. So how can they do this without the knowledge of the geometry or without the knowledge of these all things? But there is no any such type of the evidences we get. But for the arts, we can say the petroglyphs. It's okay. But these cultural interrelations we can see from that petroglyphs too, because Egyptian and the Sumerian, Mesopotamian and Indus civilization cultures, this cultural interrelations we can see there. And but this which indicates the clear idea about the libraries we can see here only. And this is a part of the British Museum London, where they kept these all clay tablets in the showcases. Here during the 2nd and 3rd millennium, they see the Egyptians developed an extensive system of archives to support their empire, as did the latter Persian Empire. These archives existed primarily to serve the legal, administrative, and military purposes of the rulers. An early indication of the this perceived role of archives as tool of political operation occurred in Egypt around 2200 BC, when during a revolt, an angry mob destroyed a records office as the custodians of hated property rights. So this is also an interesting thing. Actually, in the same era, or we can say earlier of this era, from 7th century BC or before of that, or up to this time, or in ancient Indian system also, or somewhere in the some parts of India till today, in Gurukuls also, we can see some manuscripts for the study purpose, for the educational purpose. But here the purpose is for the legal, administrative, and military purpose, for the wars and that, like the Ptolemies, these maps and that. But the interesting thing is an angry mob destroyed a record office. We read such type of the incidents in Mughal period, like when Diler Khan won the fort of Raigad, he burned all the records of this Chhatrapati Shivaji or Maratha period. And then we can study about this when the Nalanda University, or about the Takshashila University, like that. Nalanda University, when they burned thousands or millions of books, they burned for the years. So like that. So here is also about the archives, and an angry mob destroyed this record office. So why? Because it's custodians of hated property rights. Persian archives often incorporated the captured archives of defeated governments to help establish control over the newly occupied territories. In an illustration of the importance of archives to Alexander the Great, It is interesting to note that when records were burnt in the tent of Chancery, staff were ordered to reconstruct them by obtaining copies from provincial sources. So here we can see some of the manuscripts regarding that information only, right side the Alexander the Great and like that. Then archives in China can be traced back almost as far as the Sumerians. These records were inscribed on bones and tortoise shells for religious, administrative, and symbolic purposes. By 700 BC, bamboo, silk, and stone tablets were in use, with records of military value being stored in secure buildings. Now, you please be careful and note your take your notes, make your own notes, and write which type of material they used. What was the purpose of their archives, like that. You note that points, and please show it at the last. Okay. So I hope this presentation is okay for you. आप सभी को प्रेजेंटेशन दिखाई दे रहा है? कोई अपना साउंड ऑन करके बताइए, प्रेजेंटेशन दिखाई दे रहा है?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, with records of military value being stored in secure buildings, while the Egyptians used the papyrus, the Chinese began using plant fiber paper after 200 BC. There are different opinions by different scholars regarding this use of paper. The Chinese also demonstrated an early interest in the use of archives to control the writing of history. In the 1st century, the Han dynasty established a Bureau of Historiography. So this is also an interesting thing, a Bureau of Historiography. Because such bureau which use the archival material for any type of work. The Greek state of Athens began housing its archives in the Metron, the temple of Mother of the Goddess, next to the courthouse by around 400 BC. This is the first time a separate building for archives. This archive contained laws, decrees, official orders. And please mute yourself. Please keep mute yourself. Please keep mute yourself. Thank you. Minutes, financial and diplomatic records, contracts, records of court proceedings, and manuscripts of plays by different scholars and the artists in what was perhaps the first example of an archival institution fulfilling the function of public access to records and consistent with the democratic principles of Athenian government. Private citizens could obtain copies of the records in the archives. But though it is mentioned here, when I was studied about it in deeply, it's access only for some specific peoples, for some specific scholars. The power that resides in the archives is illustrated in the etymology of the word archive, which can be traced to this time. The Greek archon referred to the office of the magistrate or archon, and the record kept by that office. Archons provided executive power, which in large part was legitimized by the legal documents in the archon. Similarly, the Greek arche meant to command or govern. The Latin archium was likewise the residence of the magistrate and the place where records of official, legal, and administrative significance were kept. You can see here that separate building of the archives. Nowadays, it is in very we can see it's only archaeological evidences we can see there. Now the Rome's first public archives was founded. Actually, I want to show some more things here, but I was afraid for that it becomes a lengthy presentation, so I skipped that all because here too many photographs I got. The Greek city of Rome's first public archives was founded about 509 BC in the Arium or treasury of the temple of Saturn and housed the laws, decrees, reports, and financial reports. Like the Metron, the laws housed in these archives could be consulted by all citizens. So here first time a separate archives for the topic as the law. When the Arium was destroyed by fire in 83 BC, it was replaced by the Tabularium, a large stone building In later imperial Rome, the tabularium adopted a narrower mission as the archives of the Senate. It was supplemented by imperial archives and a network of provincial, municipal, military, and religious archives. Various emperors, most notably Justinian I, were keen advocate of archives. The Justinian Code of 529 AD was not only written with the assistance of archives, it also included a section on the role of archives and archivists. So this Justinian, maybe my pronunciation is something different. Justinian first, and his Justinian Code is important in the history of archive. This code emphasized the importance of archives as a public place of deposit and as guarantors of the integrity and authenticity of the record housed therein. So why we need the archives? So this last line is important. Integrity and authenticity of the records housed therein. It means there is something difference between the archives and the libraries. Please note this. There is something difference in the archives and the library. When I was started to make the this presentation, or when I was started to read about the archives, at that time in my mind I have a clear idea about the libraries, and I was started to note all the old libraries. But when I was started to read some other scholars' books, that time I got the knowledge that it is something different. So what's the exactly difference is the last one, authenticity of the records housed in. So please be careful in your archives too. Whenever you work in your archives, please careful about the authenticity of the records. So it is what the most important thing as per my view. So here you can see that Justine Code and King Justine first. Then bureaucratically formalized the record keeping systems and administrative archives were foundation characteristics of innovative Islamic military and economic empires during medieval times, early medieval times. Medieval times as per the world history, not as per the Indian history, or some scholars mentioned medieval history, it starts from 11th century, but it's not like that. It's from the 6th or 7th century. State chancellors, chancelleries or central register offices called divans were established in places such as Persia, Damascus, Baghdad, and North Africa during the 7th and 8th centuries. Later, many mosques adopted archival functions in support of religious scholarship, particularly in cultural centers such as Damascus. We can see such type of divans in our Andhra Pradesh Government Oriental Manuscript Library up to 18th century. So I have a few copies of divans in my personal collection too. By the middle of 6th century, papal archives had been established. In the 8th century, the Venerable Bede was able to make use of archives to write his landmark history of the church in England. Following the collapse of the Roman Empire, a number of municipal archives persisted in Italy and France until the 9th and 10th centuries. Venice and Florence established archives during the 11th and 13th century respectively. It was common practice for royal archives in Europe to have no fixed location, but instead to travel with the king's household. So instead to travel with king's household this is one remarkable point, because up to now only the historic houses or this king's household, the collections are only kept in the king's house, but now it's this practices now they stopped. Towards the end of the 12th century, however, there were some moves towards the establishment of a central government archives in England. A century later, Exchequer Rolls began to be housed in the Tower of London. Here we can see in time, this archives was expanded to include all of Britain's chancery records. In 1323, the first inventory of English archives was completed and served as a model for similar initiatives elsewhere in Western Europe. In 1346, the archives of the Kingdom of Aragon were created. Around this time, paper began to come into more common usage in Europe. So here we can see that old building of 1346, but now here this is the new one building. That old building moved, and this new building now we can see for use of the same purpose. Then here in 1524, the archives of the Crown of Castle was established by Charles V at Semances near Valladolid. The archive was greatly expanded by Philip II, who regarded archives as vital for controlling, administrating, and legitimizing an empire, and who also viewed archives as symbols of power and prestige. Now, same thing when we saw in our museum session, here also you can see who also viewed archives as symbols of power and prestige. So the Semances archives is now regarded as the classic prototype of a centralized national archives. So first time this word used here. 200 years later, the Archive of the Indies was established in Seville for the same reasons. When courts conquered the Americas, it was considered essential to not only burn the archives of the conquered Incas and Aztecs, but also ensure legitimate documentation of the occupation by a legally appointed notary whose records were eventually deposited in archives back in Spain. So, what is an archivist? If you want to study, you can study from this point. So, between the 16th and early 18th centuries, royal archives repositories were established in France, Sweden, Denmark, and China. The combined effect of the advent of the printing press and the emergence of the modern administrative state generated a significant growth in records creation and as a consequence archive holdings. Now you can see here this archive journey from the king's households to the central or the national up to the state level too. So this is important thing here. Now we can see here the archives of the Royal Chancery of this Valladolid in Spain, created by these Catholic monarchs. This is the most important of the legal archives of the old regime preserved in Spain. The documents it contains are exclusively judicial in nature and occupy nearly 20 kilometers in total. The funds are from the royal courts and chancery of the Valladolid. See here, this archives, how can we say importance of the archives? कई बार लोगों ने कैसे एक आर्काइव्स कितना बड़ा है, कितना ग्रेट है, ये दिखाने के लिए जो एक इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग यहाँ पर यूज किया है, मुझे बड़ा आश्चर्य लगा. I was astonished when I read this. Archives occupy nearly 20 kilometers in total, like that. And afterwards, after from these archives, in any archives like the Vatican City or till in our Maharashtra also Bombay Record Office or in our Imperial Gazette Office, like that. So everywhere this term used there. रैक्स कितने हैं या ये शेल्फ्स कितने हैं, तो किलोमीटर के हिसाब से उन्होंने बताया है कि ये इतना बड़ा आर्काइव्स है. कितना बड़ा आर्काइव्स है? They not mentioned the exact quantity of the documents. Why? Because sometimes it's not possible to check and verify each and every document and the numbers to verify the quantity of that documents. So they always mentioned such type of 20 kilometers or 50 kilometers, like that. Shelves occupy nearly like that. So this is also interesting because till today, whenever I visit the many archives, especially not the government but private archives, then royal archives particularly, they can't mention, they never mention the quantity of the documents or the exact figure of the manuscripts which they have. They just said that बहुत बड़ा आर्काइव्स है. बहुत बड़ा यानी कितना, अगर लगाएंगे तो 2 किलोमीटर का लाइन लग जाएगा, इतना बड़ा है, like that. So before, as in last session also I told, before some days, in last week, we also in our this collectorate office, which is from the British period here, when it's closed in 1964, we got the records, old records there, and there are the many shelves, but till today there is no any quantity of the records. So like that, the highest court of the kingdom of the castle in the old regime for the territories to the north of this Tigris River and of the territorial court of Valladolid, the court that replaced the chancery as well as the lower legal bodies. These documents are particularly valuable for research into political, social, and economic history of Spain from the end of the 15th to 19th century. So now this is important thing. These documents, which are not only important for the legal aspects, but for political, social, and economic history of Spain. You can see here the archives of the Crown of Castile, which was established in 1850-24, and a document from the Archive General de Simancas, General Archives of Simancas, written in 1600. UNESCO awarded the distinction of World Heritage Site to Simancas within its category World Memory Registers, like that. So maybe you know about the World Memory Register. Otherwise, we will see the information in our next sessions. Archivo General de Indies, Seville, Spain, houses some 9 kilometers of shelving in 43,000 volumes and some 80 million pages. See here, they counted up to the pages too, 18 million pages, which were produced by the colonial administration. Why just I want to say these things like that? Because when I was worked for the National Mission for Manuscripts in 2007 to 2010, and I was in charge for the Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana, and that border areas particularly. That time we count the pages too with the manuscripts condition and that. There is a form, National Mission for Manuscript form, and we noted that all points there. So it means that why it's necessary, because if we want to digitize, if we want to preserve such type of the figures are important for all of us. Here now, the creation, control, and use of archives become increasingly important in the context of religious, legal, and political power struggles, such as the Reformation and parliamentary reform movements, when opposing factions use the records to support their arguments. This is also important thing. The Renaissance had created demand for access to information. For the purpose of supporting scholarly inquiry, as opposed to the more common political, financial, legal, administrative, and symbolic purposes. See here, this is the demand for the right, and it's not only for the other purposes, but for the financial purposes also. First time, the demand for to keep this all record in front of the public, financial records also. Nevertheless, access to archives was strictly controlled by their owners, usually monarchs or churches, who very often kept them inaccessible to all except themselves and their history of modern their own record. Now, history of modern archives organizations. The modern archives have been in existence for hundreds of years. For instance, the Vatican Secret Archives, just as in this last session, as we mentioned there, strictly controlled by their owners. And here mentioned about the church like that. Here also we can see in this slide, the Vatican Secret Archives, which was started in the 17th century AD. But as per the knowledge, here the records are too old. Though the archives established in 17th century, but they have such a great record from 6th to 7th century too. And contains state papers, papal relating to a pope or to the Roman Catholic Church, account books, and papal correspondence dating back to the 8th century. Most archives that are still in existence do not claim collections that date back quite as far as the Vatican Archives. The Archives Nationales in France was founded in 1790 during the French Revolution and has holdings that date back to 8625, and other European archives have a similar provenance. Now we can see here the use of archives for research. Now from 18th century onwards, we can see this use of archives for research by the scholars particularly. The use of archives for research is a relatively recent development. It basically began with the French Archives Law of 1794. A broad organization of archives, both public and private, has developed since that period and now encompasses all the countries in the world. The scope of this material, that's this charters, records, registers, maps, plans, audiovisual media, electronic documents, private collections, and archives. and its appraisal pose serious problems for archives today. Those problems include all questions dealing with the preservation and information technologies. Historians, genealogists, lawyers, demographers, filmmakers, and many other conduct research at archives. The research process at each archive is unique and depends upon the institution that houses the archive. While there are many kinds of archives, the most recent census of archives in the United States identifies major types as academic, business. Now we can see different type of archives here: academic archives, business, for profit, government, non-profit, and other. There are also four main areas of inquiry involved with archives: material technologies, organizing principles, geographic locations, and technical embodiments of humans and non-humans. These areas help to further categorize what kind of archive is being created. So first time now we can see from this 18th century onwards, the research by the different type of the peoples or the different types of the researchers too. So the filmmakers now here, as we mentioned in last session, here in India, this Mohenjo-daro, we know about that Mohenjo-daro film, and they take the took the help from this Deccan College Pune like that. So such type of different filmmakers, they use the archives, the libraries, the study material in not only in history subject, but in the films like the Jurassic Park. We know about the dinosaur Jurassic Park. So they take the help of the archives or archival materials for to get the clear idea about that time of the environment, the locations, and the costumes like that all. So universities are another venue for archival holdings and manuscript collections. Most universities have archival holdings that chronicle the business of the university. Some universities also have archives or manuscript collections that focus on one aspect or another of the culture of the state or country in which the university is located. So like that, as I already mentioned, in India, when we studied about the Indus civilization or afterwards the Mahajanpadas period or up to the this ancient Indian history, we always mentioned about the Nalanda, Takshashila, Vallabhi, and Vikramshila, like that, the universities and their libraries. But as I told, when I was studied about these all, I want to differ it as the libraries and the archives. So schools and religious institutions, as well as local studies and history collections, museums, and research institutions may all hold archives. The reason for highlighting the breadth and the depth of archives is to give some idea of the difficulties facing archival researchers. Some of these archives hold vast quantities of records. For example, the Vatican Secret Archives has upwards of 52 miles of archival shelving. An increasing number of archives are now accepting digital transfers, which can also present challenges for display and access. So you can see here that Vatican Apostolic Archives, established in 1612, opened for public in March 2020. So it means around after 400 years. When it's open for public, then you can see here the view of that Vatican City Archives. The Archives Nationales Paris, France were created at the time of the French Revolution, but it was a state decree of 1794 that made it mandatory to centralize all the pre-French Revolution private and public archives seized by the revolutionaries, completed by a law passed in 1796, which created departmental archives to alleviate the burden of the Archives Nationales in Paris, thus creating the collections of the French archives as we know them today. In 1800, the Archives Nationales become an autonomous body of the French state. Today, they contain about 406 kilometers of documents, the total length of occupied shelves put next to each other, an enormous mass of documents growing every year. The original documents stored by the Archives Nationales range from 625 to today. So here we can see one of the building of that archives. It's actually a hotel building and archive building too, historical and original headquarters of the Archives Nationales. And here the new one building. So here now we can see the French National Archives. And this is one of the oldest and the most biggest library and archives. The Library of Congress, Washington, D.C. More than 38 million books and other printed materials 3.6 million recordings, 14 million photographs, 5.5 million maps, and around 8 million pieces of the sheet music, and 70 million manuscripts, 5,711 this equivalent, 12 crore 28 lakh 10,430 items of non-classified collections, more than 167 million total items. As we know, there are the 3 buildings of this Library of Congress, and there is a we can say underground tunnel road for to connect each other. And here another one biggest library and archives. It's combined. The George Peabody Library, formerly known as the Library of the Peabody Institute of the city of Baltimore, Maryland, which was established in 1878. Around 3 lakh volume collection is particularly strong in religion, British art, architecture, topography, and history, American history, like that. So different subjects are here. Now we can see, though it's a collection of the books and archival material, but the varieties of the topics we can see here. And then we come towards the archives in India. Writing is stated to have been introduced in India sometime in 5th or 6th century BC. But as we know, the letters or the this script which we can read. But before of that also we know about that. So regularly, simultaneously, when the Greek and this Athenian civilization were flourishing, paper was invented in China in 1st, 2nd century BC or AD, like that, and is considered to have been introduced in India 6th, 7th century. Till 17th century, we find that Bhurja Patra and palm leaf have been in use as writing material. Until today, it used for the painting at the places like the Raghurajpur near the Konark, Orissa. Since ancient times, record offices existed in India during Buddhist times. Just to refer to its rich tradition, though disjointed one, and sometimes give fairly good idea about India's great heritage. Chinese travelers' account who came to India in 3rd to 7th century do refer to record offices in India. Likewise, the European and Arab travelers who visited India during the Muslim rule, like Peter Mundi, Rezek, and others, have also written about existence of record offices during the period. It becomes more clear when we approach towards our own time. So it is said that idea of archives administration traveled from Italy to England during 19th century. The concept of modern archives keeping came to India from England through these trading companies. But again, the debate is here, because if the travelers mentioned earlier of that about the record offices, then how can we say it like that? But till then, as per the modern terms of this archives administration, we need to study this. We have inherited present-day official archives of India from the British colonial rulers. Indians had also experienced the problem relating to archive administration and had tried to solve them before the coming of the Europeans too. One of the legacy of the Mughals British inherited was the records management, particularly related to land records, as the Mughal rule is known as the Kaghzi Raj. Akbarnama gives a fair description as to how Emperor Ashoka established a record office in 1574. Same thing we can see in Ramayana also. There is an Chitrashala when Bharata came to meet the Dashratha. He directly comes in Chitrashala, like that. We can read such type of the things in Ramayana Mahabharata. So known here in Akbarnama, known as Daftar Khana, by issue of an order that what happens at the court should be recorded and preserved. Likewise, there are references to Maratha records. Chhatrapati Shivaji and the Peshwas followed many of the Mughal practices, but here there is one separate techniques too. We will discuss about that in next session. And the records were kept in the form of bastas and are still extant and are available in well-organized manner in Peshwa Daftar, Pune. So here we can see that such some old libraries, and here Saraswati Mahal Library, Tanjore, which is established around in AD 1600. It's the 16th century by the Nayakas of Tanjore. But it's again mentioned that in 17th century that these Bhosla families, which are related with Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Raghuji Bhosla and like that. So Sarfuji Bhosle. So here there is a great collection. But till then, just I want to mention what is the basta, the word which used here in this slide. The basta or the rumal, the term which used here. So there is an around 5,000 documents which kept in a cloth. अगर एक बड़ा कपड़ा लेकर के उसमें अगर 5,000 दस्तावेज डॉक्यूमेंट्स को अगर रख के अगर उसको बांध दिया जाए तो उसको एक रुमाल कहेंगे, रुमाल. एंड द सेम थिंग विच कॉल्ड एज द बस्ता. सो उसमें एक बस्ता, जैसे अगर शादी के लिए कपड़े खरीदने जाते हैं तो कहते हैं ना कि बस्ता बांधायला चालो, मराठी में ऐसा कहते हैं, बस्ता बांधायला चालो. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग? तो हम कलेक्शन जो है कपड़ों का कलेक्शन जैसा रहता है उसी तरह से दस्तावेजों का कलेक्शन अराउंड 5,000 ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स, its bunch is called as the basta. So here we can see the library has a complete catalog of the holdings like that, but till then such many archival document records are also at here. So President Dr. Rajendra Prasad ji visited here and some more scholars. The palm leaf manuscripts collection, the paintings, the old records like that. So it is also a great archives plus library. So the eventual centuries of India's long history has left behind a huge quantity of precious archival material in more than a dozen distinct languages, many different scripts in various states of preservation, and scattered throughout the country. Much of the documentation belonging to the pre-European period of Indian history is to be found in private custody in the families of the old nobility, business houses, and religious institutions. See here the word religious institutions. Till today in India, in all over the India, you can see the religious institutions archives. Nowadays we use the word archives, but before of the 19th century they used the word library, and before of that it's just an institution, religious institution, like the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam or the monastery, the Buddhist monastery, like that. But till then they have such type of the great collections. So some records of the pre-European period are also available in organized archival repositories, particularly those connected with the old princely houses such as the State Archives of Andhra Pradesh, previously known as Hyderabad State, and Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, we can see till today many such type of the records. Continuous series of archives of the post-European period are available in archival repositories established by the European powers such as those at Goa, Madras, and Calcutta. The Goa Archives has a regular series of records dating back to the early days of the Portuguese occupation from the beginning of the 17th century, and regular record series in National Archives of India begin with the middle of the 18th century. Records of the Dutch and French administrations in India are also available. We can see it in French Institute, फ्रेंच इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ पौंडीचेरी. तो पौंडीचेरी में जो आर्काइव्स है वहां पर हम ये रिकॉर्ड देख सकते हैं, एंड हैव बीन सप्लीमेंटेड बाय द एक्विजिशन ऑफ सम माइक्रोफिल्म्स फ्रॉम द फॉर्मर कॉलोनियल पावर्स. Now the Bombay Record Office, which is an oldest and one of the greatest archives, which was established in 1821. Actually, British government want to establish the record office for the administration purpose, and so they start to collection make the proper collection of the records. Then the Secretariat record lay in the custody of Secretary to the Council. Bombay Record Office was established in August 1821 to receive and deposit records of the Secretary's office and of other offices in the Presidency. So like the Bombay Presidency, Madras Presidency, Mr. William was the first record keeper in charge of the Bombay Record Office. Now this term which used in India, record keeper, first record keeper in charge of the Bombay Record Office. Duties of the record keeper, they also mentioned about all these things. Then here records are classified in this Bombay Record Office, pre-1820, post-1820, and files up to 1920. And then besides diaries, compilations, volumes, and files, some other records like the government publications, inward letter book, and then the minute book, dispatches from and to the Honorable Court of Director, then inward registers, outward registers, in the selections of the selected compilations, surveys, such type of different surveys. Records in Portuguese, printed records, maps, private records. So like that, there is a great collection. But till then, we can see this collection in this. This is the building of Elphinstone College, Mumbai, and one part of this building is completely for this State Archives of Maharashtra. And then we'll come toward the National Archives, Delhi. Actually, in 1860, when Sanman, the civil auditor, in his report stressed the need of relieving the offices of the cognition by the destruction of the papers of routine nature and transfer of all valuable records to a grand central archives. So prior, Bombay was the important place, but then the Madras and then the Bengal, like that, they need such type of an archives, grand central archives. So the brief history, the National Archives of India was established in 1891 at Calcutta as a result of the efforts of the British government of India to find a permanent solution to the problem of storage and preservation of their ever increasing bulk of records, and was known this as the Imperial Record Department. Actually, Imperial Record Department. Now here you can see why this company, not the British government, but the East India Company and then the British government, because they have all these business records with them. Following the transfer of the capital from Calcutta to Delhi in 1911, it was shifted to Delhi, and the designation officer in charge was changed to keeper of records in late 1915. After independence in 1947, the organization was renamed as National Archives of India, headed by the Director of Archives, and now as the Director General of Archives from 1990. So actually here is also a rich collection, 1.5 million documents and the manuscripts, different languages, manuscripts, and the thousands of records at here. National Archives of India. Nowadays, we know about the National Archives and National Museum and some other institutions. Now they becomes part of one campus. The total collection stored in over 40 kilometers of shelf space. Only this Abhilekh Patel portal for access to archives and learning is an initiative of National Archives of India to make its rich treasure of Indian archival records available to one and all at the click of a button. So now the digitization process started in the archives. So Abhilekh Patel contains the reference media of more than 2.7 million files held by the National Archives of India. Over 71,810 digitized records are available for online access. But as we know, the National Mission for Manuscripts and like that different projects, when Government of India started, the digitization process started in India. So in 2016, 125th foundation year was there. And then the important, some more important archives in India as the Andhra Pradesh State Archives and Research Institute, where I was worked 2 years as a research scholar, then holds both this monarchy records for the Nizam of Hyderabad and governmental records for the state of Andhra Pradesh. There is one more institute there, which named as Andhra Pradesh Government Oriental Manuscript Library. But as we know, though it's the biggest repository, over 15 million documents, this covering the Bahmani rulers, Qutub Shahis and Asaf Jais. Nowadays, bifurcation because of this two different states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So over than 8 million records, now they hand over to the government of Andhra Pradesh because this archives in Hyderabad and it's belong, maximum documents are related to the Telangana region. And the copies of the books, if there are 2 copies, then 1 copy they handed over to the Andhra Pradesh, but there is one single copy, it's a digitized copy, they hand over to the Andhra Pradesh government. So like that, it's the bifurcation there. So nowadays I'm working as the member of Heritage Committee for Andhra Pradesh too. Here you can see one archival museum, archives museum. If you visit the Sikandrabad area, in Hyderabad there is an area called as Sikandrabad, and the Taranaka area, Taranaka bridge is there, and just beside of that this archives is there, and in archives there is an archive museum. So like that, now we can see the archive museum with the Rajasthan state also. So Rajasthan State Archives Bikaner, which was established in 1955. It's a various general record offices and having branch offices in all the former conventing states of Rajasthan, including the one in the former Chief Commissioner Province of Ajmer Mewara. In the following years, as matter of administrative convenience, it was decided that archives department should take care of only of pre-1900. So now bifurcation of the state archives also needed. So like that in Maharashtra also you can see such type of the regional archives offices. So it started over here, and these records now we can see here this bundle or this collection, the bunch of these documents which kept in the cloth. is called as the Basta, or in Marathi it's called as the Rumal. So here nowadays you can see this modern archives there in Udaipur, and now this is the excellent museum there. As yeah, if you just put it in Google, this Abhilekh Sangrahalaya, Rajasthan Abhilekh Sangrahalaya, you can get the knowledge of that. So documents gallery and this gallery, copper plate gallery. So Mahendra Khadgavaji worked there. So here in that archives, you can see this museum view. The National Film Archive of India, this is also an important archive to trace, acquire and preserve for this position the heritage of Indian cinema. Now you can see that not only the political or the religious or the business records like that, the documents related to the war and that, but here regarding the entertainment, regarding the cinema also, you can see such type of some special archives, some special objects archives like that. So document data and undertake research relating to films to act as a center for dissemination of film culture. So here is also a great collection, and but the important thing just I want to say that in March 2019, this office is in Pune, but there are some more offices like that. In March 2019, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India reported that 31,000 reels at the National Film Archives were reported lost or destroyed. So this is a very serious thing. We need to care for this. So like that, in any archive, such type of the incidents can happen. ये हो सकता है, जैसे हम संग्रहालयों में सोचते हैं, संग्रहालयों में जो चोरियां होती है उसके बारे में सोचते हैं. In archives, why such type of the incidents happen? Is it only because of the negligence, or is it because of the importance of the documents in the archives? So because there is an authenticity of the documents in the archive. So like that, if you read about the Enam Commission and such type of the committees, you will get the ideas of that too. So this National Film Archives keeps a stock of films, video cassettes, DVDs, books, posters, stills, press clippings, slides, audio CDs, and disc records of Indian cinema dating back to 1910. Now you can see here the medium in our archives, the medium changed. Up to now, we just saw about the clay tablets or the papyrus or the palm leaves like that. But here, this new generation, these new records, we can see in these archives. Here you can see the archives, which is in Pune. Then the important one, Central Secretariat Library. Then you can see the records of that. Now the services in the archives, because nowadays the archives are most important for all of us, because if we get such type of the services from the archives, it will become the research institutes, and it's important for the researcher. So reprographic services and the acquisition sections are there. So area study divisions, like we in our college or in our university, there is an study room like that. So here in archives also you can see area study division. Then the Secretariat Record Room of Kolkata is also important archive. Then here you can see the Directorate of State Archives office, and some new instruments like this BookEye4 or the BookEye. These scanners are there. So when we worked in National Archives with my 10 people, when my experts, 10 people's team was there, 1.5 years we worked in National Archives Delhi. We digitized over than 3 lakh documents there. So such type of the machines now we used, and this was started from this national mission for manuscripts when it start in all over the India, and nowadays in archives we can see such type of the services, and they also digitize the records, properly digitize the records. So evolution of State Bank of India. Now we can see this Imperial Bank of India converted into State Bank of India on July 1955, and they have their own West archives. So here archives of World Health are. I will skip the detailed information, but you just search this Bank of India or the SBI archives, Reserve Bank of India archives is there. Their own museums are also there. Our one scholar, Dr. Sarvesh Singh, will elaborate about this archives, because he worked in our this Pune Reserve Bank archives. and he will take one special session regarding that. Then archives of World Health Organization. Now you can see on the international level, such type of the international institutions, this World Health Organization on a particular topic of the health, but millions and billions of documents are there and list of fonts there, the special collections. Though they have the actually it's a World Health Organization, but till then they have their special collections like the stamp collection, numismatic collection, sound collection, oral history, former staff history, like that. Here, the office of that World Health Organization, but they have their own best archives. And here you can see the records. This is the World Bank Archives of Washington, D.C. Their own separate policies are there. I will share this link with you so that you will get the clear idea of that too. And not only that, but now here you can see World Bank Archives, they have their own such type of the stakeholders and process. These all records now all in digitized format. Why they need this all digital wallet and like that? Only because of such type of the policies nowadays you can easily access your this Google Pay or the Phone Pay on your mobile only. So because of such type of the archives, records, digital records process like that. Then the National Archives of UK, which is also one of the best archives in the all over the world because of their services and the great huge collection in digital form too. So now here you can see up to date, it have captured around 100 terabytes of material, and this is growing to roughly 1.5 to 2 terabytes per quarter. But it's not stopped there only. They give us best type of the services. Here you can see around 2021 had captured over 6,95,000 tweets and 4,32,000 YouTube videos. Why it's important? Because nowadays for the new generations, they need such type of material for their study. Because in last our course, 1 year art and architectural course, we use just our YouTube record videos only in that course, and from 42 countries, around 1800 scholars, they studied around 17,000 hours on only YouTube. So this is important thing for us. It's a digital archive currently has a potential capacity in that UK archives 13.7 petabytes. It around 14 million gigabytes, of which the current archives have used 2 petabytes like that. So the National Archives and the services there, I will share these things with you, the last one, or you can just put the National Archives Government of UK, which type of services, the facilities they provide to the scholars like that. And then here you can see the archives and some interesting modern e-archives at present. So Facebook have their own great collection. This is the e-collection or the e-data, and they provided this number of employees, 16,654 employees are there. So you can imagine it's a great work. And what they have, is there any physical documents or like that? No, it's completely digital world. So nowadays their total assets, how much? 159 billion this US dollars, and the revenue 86 billion. Why? Just I want to note this amount here, because though we have such type of the national archives with us, the national libraries, the manuscripts libraries, great repositories of this in Tirupati Devasthanam or in our universities, like just at the beginning of the session, Subramanian sir told about the IIT Madras have their archives. But why can't we generate the revenue from our archives or from this such type of the repositories? Because we need to provide the proper services to the users, to the researchers, to the scholars, to the students like that. Then only you can generate such type of the revenue. So the services are most important. Please think about this. Nowadays on YouTube also you can see around millions or billions of the videos are there. So it is also a great archive for us. The social media platforms and video sharings, the tweeters, the 100 million users posted 340 million tweets on in a day. So like that, Such type of the digital archives, the Google, which is a multi-technological company, now the 1,39,995 or around 1.5 this lakhs of employees are there. So how much data is there? It's around 20 petabytes like that. So 20 petabytes, it's near about 13 million computer species. This is the data capacity. So it is what is this, what these things all are here. You can see here the National Library of China. But nowadays, are we really need such type of the great this type of the offices or the collections or like that? I was wrote one research paper about the physical libraries and the e-libraries. Now here you can see in-depth analysis of your current record storage needs. This is the second, boxes provided and collected from your organization by us in company-owned vehicles. Third, we registered your boxed files onto our record management system. Step 4, we store your cataloged documents in a safe, highly secure, environmentally controlled environment. And fifth, confidential destruction of the files is specialized at time of storage, so they be recycled and are not stored longer than necessary. And sometimes there are the mirror servers also we used. So like that, such type of the services nowadays provided by the professional archivists. So we need to move toward this new generation so that we can see this development of archives like here from the ancient to this postmodern digital archive. In ancient period, like as I mentioned, from the Gurukuls or like that, or the palaces. In Gurukul, the oral traditions, record of traditional wisdom, and palaces, the family history, the maps of wars and other important things we mentioned as in our session. Then the traders or the trade route maps and like that. And then the material or the medium they used as the clay tablets and the rocks or the stone inscriptions like that. In medieval period, same as the palace here is as an ancient and wealth information or the grants records like the temple grants and that all things. Then the universities records of our knowledge system. Then material or the medium they use different type of material. And in the modern period, the industries, they're the products and they're the business information, administrative records like the judicial, like the police and other administration purposes, all types of information they have. And the scholars used this their own personal archives also there. So material and the medium, what they used their paper and some other material. And then the postmodern era, which is then we can say the completely digital archives, records after digitization. The manuscripts अगर हम digitize करते हैं, document digitize करते हैं, after digitization, the information which we will get, all types of material from the clay tablets to the film rolls too. Then the electronic data, typed contents including emails and SMS, digital portals, or we can see this audios like that. This all digital electronic form data. Then archival data mining. Nowadays, this word is most important. Archival data mining. What is this archival data mining, and how we can do these all these things? Which things we need to care for? These all we'll see in our one separate session for it. Then the material and the medium is digital features. Different types of digital features they used. So thank you. Thanks a lot to all. And here our today's homework is that please write a short summary on what you learned today. So please share your all notes. If you take the notes properly, अगर आप notes ले रहे हैं तो जरूर वो share कीजिए. Some scholars already shared their notes with me, and it's really too good. Now, if you have any questions, then you can ask now. Yes, Sahiti ji. Yes.
Yeah, when we spoke about it was really nice to learn about difference between the archives and the library, है ना? Because library has lots of books which can be fictional, non-fictional, but archives is the set of records. How do we actually know the authenticity of the archives?
There are two different ways to know the authenticity. One is that when you studied any material, like if you have any document with you, if there is a few lines which mentioned on that document, you can verify it with different materials. Like the document, you can verify with the local stories. जहाँ भी लोगों के पास अपनी वहाँ की स्टोरी जो लोग बताते हैं, इफ देर आर सम एनी स्टोन इंस्क्रिप्शंस, कॉपर प्लेट इंस्क्रिप्शंस लाइक दैट, तो इसके साथ हमें उसको मैच करना, एंड द थिंग्स विच मेंशन्ड इन दैट स्टोरी और इन दैट लाइंस, if it is regarded with some persons, you can recheck it with other documents too. So like that authentication, and sometimes that record or that medium which used there for that record, अगर कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट यूज किया है, जैसे कॉपर प्लेट के बारे में मैं बोलता हूँ, if there is an 16th or 17th century copper plate is there, as it mentioned on the copper plate, औरंगजेब बादशाह ने ये इनाम दिया वगैरह ऐसा, या विजयनगर कृष्णदेवराय, फर्स्ट ये पहले चेक कीजिए कि वो कॉपर प्लेट जो है वो ओरिजिनल है क्या, वहां से शुरुआत होती है। क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा था फेक कॉपर प्लेट्स, thousands of fake copper plates are there in India, in our region only, on the border of Marathwada, and that हमने उसको पहले वेरीफाई किया, and we got hundreds of fake copper plates there, because there was a project by endangered archives program by the British government when I was worked there. So पहले वहां से शुरुआत होती है, जिसको आप हाथ में रखे वो ओरिजिनल है क्या, उसके बाद उसमें क्या लिखा है उसको वेरीफाई करना है अलग अलग सिस्टम्स के साथ में, जैसे मैंने कहा फोक स्टोरीज के साथ में, अदर रिकॉर्ड्स के साथ में, या उसमें जिनके बारे में मेंशन किया है, जिस घटना के बारे में मेंशन किया है उसको। सो लाइक दैट with the different techniques you can authenticate.
So the manuscripts and all, just say this is available, because I know about lot of archives, because when I was giving my exam for MFA history for aesthetic notes, I went on these archives, UK archives and US archives, where they had really good books
Collection.
on Immanuel Kant and Aristotle to study. So these archives are actually very good
Yeah.
to study for. Plus,
Yes.
one more thing I wanted to ask, when we talk about our Indian scripts, we had lost lot of Indian scripts in between because of the invaders and all. So how do we authenticate our history?
See, there is also one phrase which used, जैसे किंगडम बदलता है वैसा ऑथेंटिसिटी बदलती है। हमारे आर्काइव्स केस में एक लाइन यूज किया जाता है, और इतिहास में भी ये होता है कि जैसे रूलर्स बदलते हैं इतिहास बदलता है, जाता है। सो व्हाट इज योर एम फॉर टू ऑथेंटिकेट दैट, दिस इज द इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग। तो ऑथेंटिकेशन भी बदल जाता है। अभी जैसे आर्यन थ्योरी के बारे में लीजिए, सरस्वती सिविलाइजेशन के बारे में लीजिए, अब तक जो सिखाया गया था उसमें और अभी जो हमारे सामने है उसमें, एंड सेम थिंग इफ वी इन लास्ट फ्यू मंथ्स तमिलनाडु में जो एक्सकैवेशंस हो रहे हैं उसको अगर सामने रखेंगे तो इसमें ये समझ में आता है कि इतिहास में ऑथेंटिकेशन जो हम कह रहे हैं, एज पर आपका इंटेंशन जो है बदल गया तो उसको भी बदलने की प्रोसेस शुरुआत होती है, लाइक इन रशिया बिफोर द स्टालिन एंड आफ्टर द स्टालिन। सो उसको देख सकते हैं। सो इस तरह से ये प्रोसेस होती है। तो आपका मकसद क्या है, ऑथेंटिफिकेशन जो आप कर रहे हैं आपका मकसद क्या है, इस पर ये निर्भर करेगा, ऐसा मुझे लगता है।
थैंक यू सो मच।
या मोस्ट वेलकम। एनी मोर क्वेश्चन? If there will not any question, now we'll stop here and we'll meet in our next session. So thank you. Thanks a lot to all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
It's very interesting session. Yeah.